Ikiju was reincarnated into another world. He expects everyone else to think the same way as he thinks if they had a rebirth in another world. But as a citizen of another world, he thought that getting married to a prince or princess would be an amazing lifetime experience that everyone would ever wish they have, rather than fighting a magical beast or monster. Ikiju jerked back to life as he heard Sayama, one of his colleagues in the workplace, shouting his name. He has been having a nightmare since the time he fell asleep in his office. Sayama told him to watch his back. Ikiju turned his head and saw his boss standing right behind him in the person of Director Nenes, who placed her arms around his neck and complained that she had been calling his name severally the other time when he was asleep, but her calls were ignored. She wondered why Ikiju was breathing heavily, and she asked if everything is all right. Ikiju replied that he is fine. Ikiju's mind ponders about the strange realistic nightmare as he was working, and sweats covered him as he felt being chewed alive. His boss asked if he wasn't forcing himself to do all the works. He replied that he is fine and will submit all the papers that he is working on at the end of the day. His boss advised him to take good care of his health and body. Then she told him to quickly finish up with his job so that she can go home on time. Ikiju looked at the papers on his table. He had already completed most of his tasks for the day. He completes the rest and submits the files to the Nanes. Then he walked out of the workplace and was on his way home. On the street, he saw different scenarios, that of an employee who was drunk and that of a man who was confessing his love to his lover, who wants to opt out of their relationship. Everything looked strange to Ikiju. His hair got thinner. He thought he was getting old, even though he is only 25 years old. All of a sudden, everywhere gets dark and he can't see clearly. A huge monstrous being appeared before him. Then he got to know that his dream was a reality. He ran as fast as his legs could carry him because he doesn't want to die. The monster also ran hard after him, and he was trapped in rumbles. Ikiju was astonished to see the lower part of his body on the ground. The monster lifts Ikiju's lower body into his mouth and swallow it. His vision got blurred as his face was smeared with sweat and blood. A blue board appeared before him, and he saw that he had to defeat a monster called Minotaur. Ikiju thought that the monster would eat him up. Then he was startled when he heard his name being echoed by one of his colleagues in the workplace. Then he comes back from the dreamland. He could see the blue board with the inscription, "Quest failed," even in his office. "Are you talking about the monster back then?" It appeared once again and it disappeared, he said, soliloquizing. He could saw all sorts of strange things like bronze trophy. Death, second death confirmed. Then Director Nanes came in and asked if he was all right. She said that he looked pale and she guessed that he needs to take care of his health. Ikiju points to the invisible blue board at his left hand. Though the blue board was visible to him alone, he asked Director Nanes to explain the meaning of the blue board. She was puzzled and she said she can't see the blue board he was talking about. He shouted at her and he said that she must have been blind not to have been able to see the invisible blue board been displayed right in her front. She told him to shut up, stop saying nonsense, and finish up with his job. Ikiju was confused. He couldn't figure out what was actually going wrong. He decides to stay in his office in order to avoid the monstrous being. He went back to his office with the hope of sleeping there safely. His head is full of a lot of things he doesn't understand. He checked his phone. It's already 10 a.m. in the morning. He was very happy that he made it through the next day. He decides to get himself a cup of coffee for the celebration of his momentary victory. Then he paused for a minute. He wondered why his colleagues and the director decide not to come to the office on time. Perhaps maybe they will not come at all, he thought to himself. Where is everyone? Why is the siren blaring like that? What exactly is going on here? He asked those questions as he peeped through the windows. As he looked through the window, he saw monstrous, fierce, and dangerous beings destroying various kinds of structures. Buildings, cars, motorcycles, and everything that comes their way. He was terrified as the atmosphere around him looks like hell. He was shocked at the revelation of being the last survivor. He ran out of the office only to meet Sayama, one of his colleagues, sitting on a wooden bench at the reception. "Thank God, you're still alive." He was glad that he had a companion, at least, even in what seems to be the end of the world. His happiness was short-lived by cruel attack of a monster who plucked out the intestines of his friend in his sight. He lost his strength and he starts to vomit. He thought about what could be done in killing the monster. He thought that avoiding the monster could be dangerous. He looked closely at the monster. The monster looked like the goblin in video games. He remembered that goblins are weakest monster ever, but he doesn't think that he would be able to beat up the goblin. The goblin approaches the terrified Ikiju with his club. "Stay away from me," he said while throwing away his phone as the goblin moves towards him. The goblin grabbed his neck and smashed the club on his head. Ikiju was surprised to be alive even after receiving a direct hit from the goblin's club. He felt a new surge of power and strength. He rose up and gave the goblin a super punch. The goblin got thrown up by the punch and it ended up smashing its back against the cracking wall. Ikiju was amazed at his level of power and ability, how he survived and escaped death despite being beaten by the monster's club was a mystery to him. He was surprised he could make a hole on the wall with just one hit. Ikiju thought that his powers could be related to the stats on the blue board. Then he got hold of the club and turned to the goblin who was sprawling on the ground. "Goblin, it's my payback time," he said, moving gallantly towards the Globin as he delivered some powerful hits on several vital parts of the Globin, defeating the monster and avenging the death of a fellow colleague. Ikiju staggered and fell down on the ground. He had lost a lot of blood from his previous encounter with the monster. He had pains all over his head. He saw the blue board again as he was laid down helplessly on the ground. From the blue board, his new stats showed that he has leveled up. His body was wrapped up with a new surge of power. Even though he had leveled up, he still felt unconscious. He jolted back to life as he was called by Director Nanes. "Wow, finally you woke up. What happened to you? Are you feeling fine?" the director asked, looking worried. Ikiju ran out of his office amidst calls from his boss. He wondered how he made it alive again, even for the third time. He saw the blue board with all his stats, this time with his name written bodily on it. Ikiju discovered that he will be stripped of his present level since he died twice already with accomplishing his mission. Ikiju believed that he could raise his level. He decides not to give up, but to raise his level and survive at all cost. Then the blue board showed that he had a global reversal rate of 0.01%. The world is destined to be invaded by monsters in few hours. Ikiju, the only human who died 3 times, is the only one. With the revelation of the imminent disaster that is to befall the Earth, Ikiju was in his office. His colleagues left him behind after they've finished their works for the day. "But I still won't give up. I will definitely survive," he said, shouting out loudly only to be hit with an hand fan on his head by his boss. She said that everyone has gone home except him. She asked if he was planning to stay all through the night or not. He told her that he still has a lot of works to do and will like that she leave the office first and that it will all right for him to stay alone. She took the files he was working on and told him to go home, insisting that it will be faster for her to work on the files. He insists that he wants to stay, but when he noticed that his boss is about to get angry with him, he succumbs to her pressure. On a second thought, he reasoned that he could be killed by the Minotaur on his way home. so he decides to stay quietly in another section of his workplace, where he knows that his boss would not be able to find him. He decides to check his stats on the blue board, so he mentioned the word state, and the blue board appeared. He could see that he is back to level 1, instead of level 3. He noticed that his strength and stamina are higher than the other due to the trophy. He noticed that he had a new skill that can retain his former points whenever he dies. He learned that he can strengthen his ability values and also acquire new skills. The love story skill got his attention as he wanted to select the skill. His boss opened the door to the room he was hiding, and she called his name. Ikuju's boss was surprised to see that he hasn't gone home yet. She thought that he was obeying the company's motto, which states that an employee must not leave his boss behind and an employee must protect his boss. Ikiju left his office and was on his way home when his boss called him back. She said she wants to talk to him about something private. I know that you have been carrying it alone for a very long time. I mean all the worries, pains and sufferings, she said with a tender voice. If something hurts, talk to me once in a while about it. Protecting subordinates is also the duty of a boss. Trust me for a moment, she said gently, putting one of her hands on his shoulder and patting him like a young boy. That's all. See you tomorrow, she said as she walked away. Thank you so much, he replied with excitement as he watched her walking away. Ikiju thought he had the capacity to save people now that he had identified with the powers within him. He went to the supermarket and he bought a lot of food items, drinks, helmet, water, first aid kits. He also gets some weapons and clothes for himself. Even though he bought a lot of things, those things looked light, and he began to take note of the increase in his muscle strength. He decides to use the company as a place of refuge from the attacks of a minotaur that is staying near his house. He looked at the wall clock and he sensed that the monsters will be moving around very soon. He takes a bite from his hamburger and he takes a sip from his drink. He switched on his phone and he saw various scary news about monsters appearing in different places all around the world. At exactly 3 p.m., he dressed up and was battle ready as he looked forward to saving people and killing the monsters. He had his helmet well placed on his head and he also had 2 knives properly positioned in their sheaths. He went to the city and was surprised that he couldn't find the monster. He thought that the monsters may be lurking around, hence he needs to be very careful. He plans to kill the goblins, one by one. He saw a man that was attacked by the goblins in a car. Half of the man's head was lying on the floor. Ikiju wanted to vomit at the horrible sight, but he told himself that he had to get used to it, because it will become a daily routine. He moved on, and he saw policemen trying to protect the people against dangerous attacks from the goblins. Hurry up and shoot, a policeman, who happened to be the police commandant, said. That doesn't work, the policemen cried. Ikiju could see 5 of the goblins surrounding the policemen. He checked the blue board. He was given a task to 100 goblins that belongs to the E-class. The goblins attacked the humans, and they killed some of them. A policeman summoned courage, and he shot down one of the goblins. Another goblin attacked the policeman and killed him in an instant. Ikiju decides to run away in fear for his own life. Just as he was running away, he saw a goblin with a crude knife in his hand, moving close towards his boss, who was crawling on the ground trying to avoid the goblin's attack. Ikiju strikes the goblin with his knife, and he stayed close to boss so as to protect her from the goblin's attack. His boss asked him of his reason for being in a dangerous situation because of her. He reminds her of the company's motto, one of which states that it is the duty of the employee to protect his own boss. The goblins are coming towards them. Ikiju looked at the goblins in their numbers. He told his boss to stand up, so that they can run away together from their enemies. He carried her on his back and he ran away from the goblins. You idiot, one move and you could have died, she said, teasing him. Forgive me, he replied absent-mindedly. But you're so stupid. Did you say something? She said again. Hey, I can't hear you, he replied to her amazement as they moved to the company. Back in the company and now in his office, Ikiju helped his boss to treat the wounds she sustained from the goblin's attack. She was surprised that Ikiju had already made provisions for foodstuffs and drinks in his office. Ikiju advised that foods and drinks are to be taken in moderation. He told her that pillows, blankets, and clothes are also available. Ikiju asked Nane's, his boss, her reason for going out to the convenience store in the middle of the night. She answered that she went there to get some energy drinks for an all-night work. She told him that a lot of people died right in her presence. Until, few hours ago, everything was normal. Even so, why did monsters appear in this world? She asked with tears in her eyes. I don't know about that either, Ikiju answered. Ikiju told her that the monster invasion is happening all around the world. He said the world has come to an end. On a second thought, he thinks that the blue board will make no sense if the world had really come to an end. He thought that Nane's could also have a status. He covered Nane's with a blanket and told her to have a good night. He told her to stay there for a little while, and he promised to come back alive. Nane's told him to wait, but he couldn't hear her as he had already gone out. Ikiju plans to search for the goblins and fight them all, even though he knew that he could only kill a single goblin. He heard a lot of cries and gunshots in the city. He thought that it is better not to go near the city. He saw huge monstrous bees that were skewering human beings. He decides to visit the alley and try as much as possible to be careful so as to avoid the huge bees that are flying over the sky. He saw some kind of plants that the monsters used for capturing their prey. He thought that there could be a monster somewhere that he could defeat, then he walked away. As he was going on his way, he thought that a car was coming along the road, until it turned out to be a monster. He ran as fast as his legs could carry him, and he ran into a goblin. He decides to quit the habit of running away and fight so that he can get to the next level and survive. He believed in himself and he charges towards the goblin. Then he thrust his knife into the goblin's neck. Goblins have an extraordinary life force. Stabbing them in the chest and neck won't be enough to kill them. Ikiju knew that he had to cut off the head of the goblin if he wants to get rid of it completely. So he continued to stab the goblin with his knife, until the goblin's head fell off from its neck. He defeated the monster and moved to the next level according to the status. He had to kill 99 more goblins. Though this was his second time of killing a goblin, he was really tired from that encounter. Help me, a voice cried behind him. Ikiju saw a naked woman screaming and crawling on the floor. She had no feet. He looked at his left, and he saw piles of naked human beings that have been preserved as food for the goblins. He suddenly realized that he has entered the goblins' den as he saw the goblins trooping out in their numbers.